process take an emotional and expensive toll on families and their children.
The KVUE Defenders also uncovered suffering caused by delays don't end even after children are brought home. Once again, here's KVUE's Andy Parati.
There you go. It takes a lot of Legos.
Perfect.
Drawing paper.
I tried to draw that.
And tons of energy to raise 3 children all under the age of 9. As if that wasn't hard enough, Matt and Julie Corey of Austin adopted all of them outside the United States. Their 2 sons, West and Creed, are from this same country.
So we signed up for Russia, and at the time it was supposed to be a pretty smooth 9-month process, similar to a pregnancy. Didn't quite turn out that way.
They filed for adoption when both were a few months old, but it took 2.5 years to bring them home.
Okay, today is January 31st, and it is Creed's Gotcha Day.
Gotcha Day.
This is home video captured the day each were allowed to leave their Russian orphanages. A few years later, they met this little girl, Nanya, while volunteering in Ethiopia. They say her adoption also took 2 years too long. Delays created by unnecessary repeated paperwork, government red tape, and fears of child trafficking. When they finally did get them home to Austin, they quickly realized their work had just begun.
They didn't understand the concept of a primary caregiver who loved, in a nurturing, kind way, gave them what they needed.
The Coreys say it took years for their 2 sons to trust them.
We had to teach them that it was okay to get hurt and to cry and to come to mommy.
There's a lot of deprivation that goes on.
Dr. John Bergeron is a child psychologist in College Station who works for adoption advocate organization Hope Orphans.
When a child is picked up and held and touched and talked to, that's what begins the wiring process in our brain. And so these kids are often just left in, huge rooms, just crib after crib after crib, and they're fed and kept relatively clean, but that's it. And what happens is their brains don't develop in a normal way.
According to a report published in Pediatric Research, one study found children fell behind 1 month in development for every 3 months living in an orphanage.
So in a period of 3 years, you're basically around 7 months behind development. And, that may not sound like a lot, but it can drastically affect the child's ability to function.
Dr. Bergeron knows the challenges of adopting overseas because he's living it. He and his wife have 2 adoptive children. Both are deaf. Their oldest, Jian, is from China. This is the exact moment they first met in 2010. He lived in this orphanage for 13 years. With his father's help, he told us about what it was like living there, including getting tied up to a chair as a child.
It started when I was a baby. I was tied down to the bed, and as I grew up, it stopped when I was 4 or 5.
When he told you that, what do you think?
Well, we were kind of shocked.
His stories got worse.
Some of the women didn't take care of the babies. They didn't even feed them. Some died. Sometimes I would help them after they died. They wanted me to go put the babies in the freezer.
Experiences Jian's father says have impacted his son's daily life for years after the adoption.
He still struggles. There's that immediate aggressive response rather than, hey, let's work this out, let's communicate about this.
Every group needs their own specialized way of parenting.
To help other adoptive parents, Julie and Matt Corey now teach a class called Parenting Kids from Hard Places.
You redirect everything back to mommy.
They hope it helps other parents realize the extra work involved in foreign adoptions is all worth it.
I was asking Wes what adoption meant to him, and he said, well, adoption means that I got a family. And I said, that's right, but what does family mean? And he said, well, family means love. And I said, well, what does that mean? I was trying to get him to say something practical, and he said, I can't separate those two. Family is love, and love is family. It's pretty amazing, those moments like that where you're like, man, I got him. He's ours. He's connected.
Rescuing orphans from foreign countries is riddled with problems and red tape.
Parents blame a broken adoption system that Congress needs to fix.
We have had enough of State Department feet-dragging bureaucracy and heartbreak.